Greetings, I'm Professor K, and in this short video presentation, we're going to see how we can go about setting the desktop background for all of our domain users using group policy. And though I'm using Server 2016 for this demonstration, the steps you're about to be shown do apply for Server 2012, Server 2016, and Server 2019. To begin this demonstration, we're going to be using Server Manager. And from Server Manager, let's go to Tools, and from the context menu, let's select Group Policy Management. Up inside of Group Policy Management, let's go ahead and expand our forest, and then we're going to expand our domains, and finally, let's expand the name of our domain. And though I am going to push out this group policy object to the entire domain, I may not want to use the default domain policy. I may want to apply this policy just to a specific organizational unit or just to a specific number of users. So as with any new group policy object, we're going to right-click on the name of our domain, and from here, from the context menu, we're going to select Create a GPO in this domain and link it here. And let's go ahead and give our new group policy object a user-friendly name. I'm just going to call this Desktop Background. Let's go ahead and say OK to that. And now we can find this new group policy object. We can right-click and we can select Edit from the context menu. Let's go ahead and make this full screen. And let's go ahead and move this window over just a little bit. Now, before we get to actually configuring this group policy, we need to set up a shared folder that's going to hold the image. Let's see how we do that. So somewhere on my server here, I need to have a shared folder. In this case, it's going to be up on my E partition. So I go in here and you'll see that I have a folder called Background. And inside this folder, there is an image that I want to push out to everyone's desktop. Now, the trick is to right-click here, go to Properties, and we're going to go ahead and share, and we're going to use Advanced Sharing, share this folder, and I'm going to go to Permissions, and I'm going to add domain users. Now, the reason I'm adding the domain users is because I don't want everyone to pull down this image. For instance, if I have guests that come into the domain, they don't need to pull down the image, just those that are members of the domain. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK to that. Now, everyone has to have full control or full access to this folder. But that's not the same thing as security permissions, which we're going to see in just a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and just apply, say OK, say apply, say OK to that. So we've ensured that our domain users have full access to the folder, but we want to restrict them to making any changes to the folder. So to do this, we're going to go to Properties, and we're going to go to Security, and we're going to add our domain users, and we're going to give them just read and execute. That's all they need. So we're going to go say Apply, say OK to that, say OK to that. Now, if you want, you can go in here underneath the Properties, in the Sharing, and you can take out the Everyone groups. Since we already have the domain users in there, if you want to, you can remove the Everyone. Now we have this folder set up, and the domain users will be able to gain access to it so that they can have that image pulled down to their machines when they log on. And so how does that work with the sharing and the permissions? The most restrictive will apply. So though we've given the domain users full access to the folder, their security permissions only give them read. So that's going to be the actual permission that they're going to get when they access this image. So now that we got the shared folder up and we got the permissions set, let's go check it out and see if it actually works on a Windows 10 that is attached to our domain. So I'm now going to go over here to my Windows 10 machine, and up here inside of the search bar, I'm just going to type in // and I should be able to see that share. And there it is. So this means that the users, the domain users that are running Windows 10 or Windows 7 or Windows 8 will all have access to this background folder, which contains the image that I want their desktop to have. Back over here in my Server 2016 machine, we can go ahead and close this out now. And we are now ready to begin editing this group policy object. Now we can configure this group policy object to roll the new image out to the computer or to the user. We're going to go ahead and use the user. So we're underneath user configuration. Let's go into policies and let's go into administrative templates. Let's open up desktop. And from here, we're going to open up the desktop folder inside of here. From here in the right window pane, just select desktop wallpaper, double click it. From here, you're going to go ahead and enable this group policy setting. And we're going to type in the UNC path because this is the share path. You don't want to use the local path because no one's going to be able to see it. So you have to type in // the name of the server, / the name of the folder. Now you have to type in / the name of the image. And that's all in here. So now we have the path so that everyone who is a domain user will be able to see the UNC path. So make sure that we're not using a local path. We're using a UNC path. Very important. We're going to go ahead and center that image. And when we're ready, we're just going to say apply. And we're going to say OK. So we're now ready to go and test our new setting. So let's go back over to our Windows 10 machine. And sometimes we can just type in GP update on the command line. And that will refresh the policy and we can move on from there. So we can try that. So I've typed in GP update space / force. If I hit enter, it's going to update that policy for us. And in just a moment, we'll be able to see whether or not I have that new setting as part of my policy. So it said it could not update successfully. The following errors were encountered. All right, so when this happens, what you might want to do is just go ahead and log off and log back on. So we can try that. And we're just going to log off and log back on. Now to log off inside of VirtualBox, we're going to have to go to input, we'll go to keyboard, and we'll send over a Control-Alt-Delete. And now we can just log off. And we'll log back in. To do this, I'll just hit enter. And I'll just type in my password. And there we go. And we'll see if we have our new background. And we see that the image for the new desktop background is in place. So for this to happen, I had to restart my Windows 10 machine. And that happens sometimes. Sometimes, for whatever reason, the group policy object will just not take. And sometimes you just have to restart the client and let it pull down everything fresh from the server. And that's what we did here. So that's going to conclude this short video presentation on how we go about forcing users to have a particular desktop background using group policy. So if you have any questions or you have any concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out, contact your instructor, and I'll see you in my next video.